Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of The Rundown. I'm Sunny Galt. I'm a messenger with United Network News. We are the news division of United Network, and we're also part of CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. And our mission is to bring you the real news. And we do that in lots of different ways. We have, of course, our amazing field messengers, which I'll tell you more about in just a little bit. We also have our news team, and we go a little bit further in depth in some of the headlines that you may have seen online. We talk about things that are happening on the ground that no one else is talking about, and that's because we have the Global Intelligence Agency, who is part of our team here. Kimberly Gogan is the head of the GIA. She is very busy this week. I've got some updates from her, some messages that she posted this week. She is in the process of moving, and it's pretty funny that a lot of stuff is erupting right now, at least apparently. That's what the news wants you to think. A lot of conflict, right, with Israel, Iran, and apparently the U.S. is involved. And it's interesting that this happens the moment they think Kim is distracted with her move. And that just shows how short-sighted these people are and how they have no idea how the light works. And it's pretty funny. I think it's always good when your enemy underestimates you, but we'll get to that in just a bit. If you want more information about who we are and what we do, you can visit our website, unitednetwork.earth. This podcast is a week in review show. So I grab our top headlines and I break things down for you guys. It's a great way to catch up on any stories you may have missed because I know you guys are really busy. If you also would like to share UNN with other people, because our content is available first to our members. We don't work with advertisers. We do sell some of our own products, but we don't work with outside people and promote other products. That's not our business model. But we do have memberships, and we are so grateful. If you happen to be a member, we are so grateful for you because you allow us to take time out of our day and create this content for you guys. And you guys are the reason UNN exists. So we so appreciate you, and we want you to have the content first. We do release everything about a week later, I believe it is, on both YouTube and Rumble. So if you can't afford the membership, we try to keep it as low as we can. But if that's not in the cards, we get it. And you can watch it about a week later. With everything that we release, I encourage you guys, and not just with our content, any content out there, because I know you're being bombarded with things right now, think critically. Ask questions. Why are they covering this? Why are they taking this angle with it? What other research can I do? Because the answers are out there. You just have to start, if you aren't already. I know a lot of our audience is, but if you aren't already connecting the dots, see, media just wants you to sit back and just consume. But those days are over, right? We're thinking for ourselves. We're thinking critically. We're sharing information with other people when we have those aha moments. That's really your end of the deal with this, right? We give you a lot to think about, possibly do a little bit of extra research. And when you have those moments, share them because that's how we all grow and that's how we learn, really. So let's continue learning. Here are the rundown of stories you may have missed this week on UNN. Let's start with our field messenger reports because we truly believe that field messengers are the new face of news. And we've been seeing this over the years, right? Content creators, people that are kind of boots on the ground. You're seeing this already on social media and YouTube. You're not seeing it as much in a news format. That's what makes UNN special. But people are already out there sharing what's going on. And it's so important because we're eliminating the middleman. We're eliminating the stereotypes. We're eliminating these narratives that we've been fed for years and years and never really realized it. But everything's starting to come to light. You notice that? Literally, it's crazy how, the dark is in for a very rude awakening. And it's going to happen more and more frequently. And our field messengers are a big part of that, right? It's just, they really are our boots on the ground that are just sharing what's going on in their community and busting a lot of these, rumors of things that may not be happening that we're hearing in mainstream media. And as UNN grows, we'll have field messengers all over the world, and mainstream media will not have an opportunity to lie to us about anything. So that's the goal, guys. This week, we have a lot of homegrown stories. I love it. We're kicking things off in Canada with Steve M., and he talks with some local farmers about food security because their whole focus is on providing people around their area with reliable access to fresh produce. And I believe he said they also specialize in various meats. And he talks a little bit about some of the challenges and why it's really important, as our audience knows, because we talk about it all the time, to locally source as much of your food as possible. If you can grow things, fantastic, but at least know who the people in your community are so that if you aren't already supporting them, that you can do that in case, for example, supply chains go berserk. As these structures start to fall apart, as you can already see they are, then we have to start relying on each other, right? And, become more neighborly, if you will. Know your community as well as you can. And that's really my takeaway from this story, is how important it is to know those people and know how to get those essential goods when these big box stores start falling apart. All right, Susan out of Sweden. Well, her family goes ice skating, and it's beautiful to ice skate in Sweden. They've got these amazing lakes, which turn into natural ice rinks, and it draws people into the outdoors. In fact, it was really funny because Susan showed us there were people out there ice skating on one side, and then other people kind of doing a polar dive. Is that what they call it? Polar plunge. You know what that is, right? When it's supposed to be really good for your circulatory system. In fact, I think Susan did another story about doing that at some point, but she admitted that she prefers to stay on top of the ice. So we learned a little bit about how they do this, especially when you're doing long distance skating, because the skates are longer and I believe they fit over your shoes. Just giving you guys a little bit of a visual, but it's gorgeous, and they even invite their dogs on the ice, so that's kind of fun too. Tim out of Canada, specifically the Vancouver area, talks about the gap between the have and the have-nots, meaning the people in his area. Despite the area growing, the government has more available funding through taxes, but the vulnerable people, Tim noticed, remain unsupported. So he found several what he called tent cities, like homeless tents. It doesn't make a lot of sense when your government is bringing in millions and millions and millions of extra money. I'm sure they, find ways to spend that. But why isn't that going into the community, right? They usually have programs for that, but for some reason, the problems never get fixed. So, Tim, I appreciate you doing this story and reminding us of how our governments are failing us. Desmond out of West Africa, he's specifically in Togo, West Africa, and he shows us this beautiful dance that the locals do there with drums and flutes. I always love being kind of a fly on the wall. Actually, this was outside, so there were no walls. A fly on the chair, a fly on the bench, to see how different cultures come together in celebration. I so wish in the Western world, more people embraced dancing, especially dancing as a community. It's like once you get older, you might be more into it, or maybe they never lost it, but oh my gosh, trying to get my husband to dance is like pulling teeth. So when I see these communities coming together, looking amazing, their bright, beautiful colors, both men and women were doing this dance. They wore these special decorations around their ankles that made kind of music. I don't know. They were jingling and jangling. They were moving around in a circle. I just love seeing that kind of stuff. It just really brings the community together. And I hope moving forward, we embrace this more instead of just being, stuck to devices. And, I think once the structures really start to fall apart, so will that need for a lot of young people to always be looking down instead of looking up. All right, Kirk out of British Columbia takes us to a farmer's market, but it's a special week for the farmer's market. It is the annual Seedy Saturday. And I don't mean seedy as in like bad and like dangerous or whatever, like questionable. Seedy as in seeds. You need to see how it's spelled. Seedy as you need seeds in order to plant. And why don't we all come together? And this event brings gardeners and farmers and so-called seed savers together. You can even do a seed swap. That's one thing that I think a lot of people would be surprised to know. And that is the poor quality of seeds and how so much of our food has been messed with, GMOs and all of that, that whenever you're buying at the grocery store, you cut open a pepper, let's say, or a tomato. And in our minds, we're like, oh, at any point, we could just plant tomatoes or plant peppers, whatever it is. And that's kind of true, but kind of not, because the seed is only as good as the produce or whatever it came from, right? The fruit that it came from. The other day, we were going through a grocery store and my kids were like, oh, there's some seeds over here, in those like seed packets. I'm like, no. I'm like, if you really want to get some flowers that way, since we're not going to be eating the flowers, then maybe we can do that. But we are not going to get our seeds for plants that we would be eating from a grocery store. Not happening. And so that's why these seed markets are really important. That's why it's important to go to Seedy Saturday in British Columbia. Up next, we have Jason from Australia, and he is exploring a different way of building using aircrete. If you haven't heard of that before, there's information online. It is a low-cost, eco-friendly material. It is fireproof. It is waterproof. It is insect-proof. And in this case, they were building these small dome units. I guess you could call them homes, but they didn't have to be homes. They could be used for all sorts of things. And so Jason talks with the person who put this event on because they were actually mixing the aircrete and, teaching people how to work with it. And really their whole mission is about making people as independent as possible. So if you don't want to be on the so-called grid, you don't have to be. And I believe in the very near future, most of us will be off the grid, so to speak, because I believe very soon we will not need the grid. There are so many different ways that have been suppressed over the years to have natural, clean energy. Even our own bodies produce so much energy that if used in the right way, we've talked about this before in the GIA reports, that we could power our own homes just with the energy in our bodies. We've just forgotten how to do this. And one way to control people is to make them think that these resources are extremely limited and to put them on some electrical grid where they feel like they can't move out. They got to live in these crowded cities, right? So that's why stories like this are really important, because we got to forget this old mentality, right, of being stuck in these places or, with these astronomical rents and, crazy mortgages and all, the whole debt system, right? It's going to fall apart. And we have to rethink what it means to live in this world. And that's going to constantly evolve. And this is one option as we make this transition. All right, Arlene, also from Australia, takes us to a beautiful location where she has been walking on the beach every morning. This is for sunrise, of course. And I don't know if you've ever done that. It can be amazing, breathtaking, right? I was literally at the beach today with my family, not at sunrise because I have teenage boys. That doesn't work. But it was still amazing. There's just something for me, sticking your feet in the sand. It is a beautiful form of grounding that I actually prefer over grounding in grass. So if you're near a beach, it's amazing. Just amazing. So Arlene gets a chance to do this. She says every morning. She soaks in the morning light. And I believe she said she was at Handkerchief Beach. So if you guys know where that is, absolutely gorgeous. You got to watch the video. Up next, we have Kirsten out of Switzerland. And just like me, Kirsten is a homeschooling mom. One of the beautiful things about homeschooling our kids is the ability to just be flexible and just, I call it learning through living, my kids and I, we actually have a YouTube channel called Learning Through Living, where we just share what we've learned on our adventure here, because we've been doing it for about 2 years. And these are kids that have been raised pretty much in traditional schools. And then my twins, my younger 2 girls, we pulled them out and started homeschooling them. And they absolutely love it. We've done some really fun things. And in this video, Kirsten talks about going to a book factory where her kids and probably other kids that are there as well are able to create a book. Like, how do you do the binding of a book? And it's obviously a very hands-on project. I think it took multiple hours to do, but everything from painting the pictures, this is what the kids did. They painted the pictures for the cover of the book. They put the spine of the book together. They used the equipment and, the press and everything. They glue, they had to do a bunch of cutting to make sure it all fit together. They had stamping letters where they were able to put their names on the book. I mean, I was enthralled and, I'm an adult. Imagine what the kids were thinking, right? Just a very cool activity that you can do when you take your kids out of traditional school and you start thinking outside of that proverbial classroom box. And our final field messenger story is from Carolina, from California. And speaking of kids, Carolina is a kid herself who is just loving life because in her area, it's springtime, which means beautiful flowers. And we got to see, I can't remember what colors. I think they were like orange and purple. Very stunning colors. We got to see her like walking through all these beautiful flowers. And they also had a shot of it further away. I didn't even realize this. They were way up high on this hill. But from far away, it just looked absolutely gorgeous. You know how, like, if you're driving on the road or maybe you're walking on a path and you look up on a hill and there are all these gorgeous flowers, you're like, oh, it would be so nice to see those flowers up close. Well, Carolina got a chance to do this and captured it for us. So thank you so much. Now it's time for some of the in-depth stories that the team and I have been working on for you guys this week. We're kicking things off in the Philippines, talking about healthcare. So the Philippines is facing a severe doctor shortage in rural and remote areas where many communities have little to no access to basic health care. With an average of just 5 doctors per 10,000 people and even fewer in many regions, most physicians remain in cities due to better pay, resources, and living conditions. In far-flung islands and mountain towns, patients often travel hours for care. They skip preventative checkups and seek help only when illnesses have worsened. Government programs like Doctors to the Barrios and support from nonprofits are trying to fill the gap.
Some communities haven't seen a doctor yet. Our organization's vision or purpose is to ensure and to make the people aware that healthcare is a human right. That's what our purpose is, to bring the highly specialized medical care in remote areas.
Long-term solutions will require stronger incentives, improved facilities, and sustained investment to keep doctors serving where they are needed the most. Wildlife tourism is undergoing a global shift as countries move away from exploitative animal attractions toward more ethical, observation-based experiences. Indonesia has ordered facilities to end elephant riding, enforcing a nationwide phase-out that prioritizes animal welfare over entertainment.
Great news! Indonesia has officially put an end to elephant rides across the entire country. So the government has told tourism and conservation facilities to stop using elephants for rides and instead focus on letting visitors observe them in ways that are calmer, more natural, and more respectful. Animal welfare groups have been speaking out for years, explaining that elephant rides often involve stressful training and can cause long-term physical and emotional harm.
The decision follows growing pressure from advocacy groups and reflects a broader trend, with countries like Mexico, Canada, and France also restricting marine mammal captivity and other wildlife performances. As tourism evolves, travelers are increasingly encouraged to choose experiences that protect habitats and migration routes rather than disrupt them, reinforcing a wider movement toward responsible, conservation-focused travel. AI, oh, here we go, guys, is rapidly transforming crime prevention and reporting, but its growing role comes with serious risks. While AI tools are used for facial recognition, predictive policing, and automated crime alerts, investigations into platforms like BBC News have found some systems exaggerate or even fabricate incidents, sparking panic and eroding public trust. Apps such as Citizen have also faced criticism for sending alerts with limited oversight.
Sounds like he's a shop with a cop.
What did you just hear? That's police radio chatter from Oregon in the US. An AI-powered app called Crime Radar is turning that openly available chatter into crime alerts, but it's getting them wrong. In Oregon, the app's automatic transcription turned the words "shop with a cop" about a local community event in Oregon into "shot with a cop." And then it issued a crime alert. And now the app has apologized for the panic this caused.
Now, beyond false reports, deepfakes and AI-generated audio threaten the integrity of evidence, and fake emergency calls can overwhelm 911 systems. Experts warn without stronger safeguards and human oversight, AI's speed and realism could lead to wrongful accusations, confusion, and real-world harm. Obstetric fistula is a preventable childbirth injury that continues to devastate hundreds of thousands of women, particularly in low-income regions of Africa where access to emergency care is limited. Caused by prolonged, obstructed labor without timely medical intervention, the condition leaves women with chronic incontinence and often deep social stigma and isolation. Here's one woman's story.
Beatrice was only 15 years old when she became pregnant. Because she lived far from a hospital, her family suggested that she deliver at home, but there were complications during the labour. Her baby was stillborn. The prolonged and obstructed delivery left her with a childbirth injury, obstetric fistula, a hole between the birth canal and the bladder or rectum. Often, women with the condition are shunned from society because of the smell, as they have no control over leaking urine and feces.
According to the United Nations, more than 2 million women are living with untreated fistula, with up to 100,000 new cases each year, and countries like Nigeria accounting for a significant share. While global campaigns are expanding treatment and maternal health services, experts stress that preventing fistula also requires tackling poverty, child marriage, something most people don't think about, limited education, and unequal access to skilled childbirth care. Well, concerns are growing over the use of hexane. It's a petroleum-based solvent used to extract vegetable oils from seeds like soybeans and sunflowers. While hexane allows companies to maximize oil yield, groups such as Greenpeace France question outdated safety standards and the lack of labeling transparency. Surprise, surprise, since it is classified as a processing aid and not listed on most products. So you don't even know it's in these products you're buying. Although residue levels often fall within current limits set by regulators like the European Food Safety Authority, critics argue those limits rely on decades-old research. Canola oil, which a lot of people may have in their kitchens, this has a high level of hexane.
Canola oil is toxic. Here's how it's made. It starts with the seeds of a rape plant, which are completely toxic to humans. In order to make canola oil, these plants must be specially bred to lower the levels of erucic acid, a toxic fatty acid strongly associated with heart lesions. These seeds are then ground at high temperatures to extract the fragile oil, which is inevitably oxidized because of this harsh process. This oil must then be washed with solvents like hexane, a known neurological toxin. Then it must be processed with bleaching and deodorization so it doesn't smell rancid like it really is.
Oh boy. Beyond potential health concerns, hexane also contributes to air pollution, prompting some consumers to seek cold-pressed or organic oils made without those chemical solvents. Teen mental health challenges are rising, at least in the U.S., with Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reporting about 40% of high school students feel persistently sad or hopeless, and suicide remains the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 24. Anxiety, depression, eating disorders, and substance use are often fueled by academic pressure, social media, and family expectations.
Was this always a problem, or were they not tracking it? And chat was sharing that in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we didn't track it as well as we did today, but they did track teen unaliving, hospitalization, psychiatric diagnosis, and youth surveys going back to the 1970s. But there was a really big turning point in 2011 and 2013, and this is when smartphones became universal. Social media moved from optional to total. Likes, follower counts, algorithms, and consistent comparison took over. Sleep collapsed. In-person socialization dropped. Anxiety and loneliness surged. And at the same time, housing costs detached from wages, college costs exploded, job security eroded, and the political and social polarization intensified.
Strong support systems at home, in schools, and through community programs are critical, especially as education funding faces cuts. Peer-based services like Teen Line also play an important role by connecting teens with trained teen listeners, helping reduce isolation and encouraging young people to seek further help when needed. And there might be some of those programs in your area as well. Weather modification, well, that's been in use since the 1940s. A lot of people don't want to believe that, but it's very true. And this came about when scientists at General Electric pioneered cloud seeding to increase rain. Today, more than 50 countries use similar techniques to boost rainfall or snowpack, while far more ambitious geoengineering proposals aim to cool the entire planet by blocking sunlight or removing carbon dioxide. Unlike localized cloud seeding, geoengineering operates on a global scale and carries greater environmental and political risks. Here's one U.S. lawmaker talking about it pretty openly.
For years, anybody who questioned weather modification was labeled crazy or a conspiracy theorist. Now we've learned that they've been doing it for decades. One geoengineering company called Make Sunsets injects aerosol into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight back into space. I want to show you their frequently asked questions. Why? It says, unless we reflect sunlight, tens of millions of people will die, and 20% of species may go extinct. These climate activists have come so far that they are actively trying to inject chemicals into the air to block the rays of the sun.
Critics warn that altering weather patterns in one region could unintentionally disrupt climates elsewhere, raise health and ecological concerns, and even spark international tensions, especially given past military uses like Project Popeye, which you can look up and learn more about, which was used during the Vietnam War. Digital-only banks, also known as neobanks, like Neo from the Matrix. Well, those operate entirely through apps and websites, cutting out physical branches to lower costs and often offer higher interest rates and fewer fees. With more than 350 operating worldwide and rapid growth reported by Fortune Business Insights, they appeal especially to mobile-first consumers. However, the convenience comes with trade-offs, including limited access to cash, no in-person guidance for major financial decisions, and heavy reliance on technology. Some platforms, such as Monzo, have also faced criticism over account closures and fraud handling, highlighting that while digital banking can feel fast and flexible, it may also leave some customers feeling unsupported.
The main issue that I've been seeing arising online is that people are having money taken from their accounts, and their accounts are being closed for no good reason. And to follow up with this, there seems to be a massive lack of customer support for those individuals, resulting in some of them being out potentially thousands of pounds. And this has caused them to be late for payments like rent or even just feeding their families, which is terrible.
Here's a great story to end on. Touch. It's a fundamental part of human development, starting in the womb and playing a critical role in calming, bonding, and supporting healthy growth. Skin-to-skin contact, cuddling, and gentle holding release oxytocin, lower stress hormones, and help stabilize heart rates, breathing, and temperature, especially for premature infants. Listen to this.
They will lock eyes with that mother's eyes. And in that body to body, eye to eye, she literally builds the right brain of that baby. A million synapses per second. Responding to that baby, she will build the right brain. That's the center of emotional well-being. She will regulate the emotions for that baby who doesn't yet have a sense of emotion. She will do the regulating for that baby. So she'll match their state, she'll match their feeling. If they're sad, she'll give a sad face.
That's right.
And then upregulate it. If the baby's happy, she'll upregulate it more. And she is regulating the emotions for that infant as they learn who they are, what feelings are, what meaning is, and lay the foundation for their sense of identity.
Programs like supervised volunteer baby cuddlers, that's a thing, in the US, Canada, and the UK, as well as Australia, provide this vital contact when parents can't be present, helping babies gain weight faster and spend less time in the hospital. However, on the other hand, lack of touch can lead to developmental delays, attachment issues, and long-term emotional challenges, underscoring how something as simple as holding a child can have lasting, profound effects. And now we know why they wanted us to stay 6 feet apart from one another. So this is normally the time where I'd play some sound bites from the Global Intelligence Agency. But as I mentioned earlier, Kim is on the move. This is a very big deal. She has been in Durango for, I think, more than 10 years. And it is no longer a safe place. And she's talked in the past about how they have tried to use her as a battery in a lot of different ways. And she needed to get out of there. And so she is literally in the process of moving. We got a couple updates. I'm going to piece this stuff, you guys. Some of this was sent out on our official UNN Care Telegram thread, which if you guys need the link to that, I believe it's posted on our website at unitednetwork.earth. So I think a couple of them were posted there. I also have something from another Telegram group with our field messengers. So I'm going to try to give you as much of the updates that we got this week. So on Monday, this is what she posted. The move, or my move, is well underway. All is going very well for us and not so good for them. Major changes began on the 17th and are continuing as planned. We had a breakthrough today, so again, that Monday, that has caused major chaos. Things should be calmer, quieter around here by Wednesday, so I'll do the report then. At least that was her intention. Very interesting events are beginning to occur, and I expect more between now and the 1st of March. So as I'm recording this, I am only a couple hours away from the 1st of March. All right, another update on Wednesday. I believe this was on the main Care UNN Telegram thread. She wrote, the moving trailer just pulled away about 5 minutes ago. And she talks a little bit about, wanting to do a report, which unfortunately she wasn't able to do. Then she says, there has been a lot of pushback on the fall of the empire as they try to gather scraps and try to remain relevant. It has been turbulent since around 1 a.m. Mountain Time. However, things seem to be settling down a little after today's work. Thank you so much for your patience during this time of transition. And the last one was an update that we got yesterday. I believe this was on our Telegram thread for our field messengers, because sometimes Kim hops in there and chats with our field messengers. And she says, I am currently on the road. I will have better signal the rest of the day starting an hour ago. The report is all prepared to go. We had technical difficulties before we left. Yeah, right? I'm sure they did. I'm sure those crazy people in Durango were like, we are not letting her get out this final report. Who knows what they were up to? But the important thing is Kim is completely fine. She's still in the middle of this move. And like I said earlier, what were they thinking? I don't believe in coincidence. So the fact that Kim hits the road and suddenly they try to do this whole thing in Iran with Israel, the U.S., the timing of it is very sus to me. I'm like, do you really think that she can't access the golden age AI and everything that she does and, connect with other beings? You think she can't do that on the road? Do you not know how the light operates? We don't need your stupid technology. When you are able to connect directly with source, all bets are off, dark side, dark creepy people, dark humans that don't have a real soul. So nice try, but you obviously don't realize that she's always 10 steps ahead of you. So hopefully soon we will get that report. And I don't even think that report included anything about the attacks with Iran. So she might even be doing something completely different. We'll have to see. But all is well. It's good that she's out of Durango and they can't use her as a battery anymore because they were using all of us as batteries, guys. If you don't already know that, we were their power supply. The dark cannot exist without the light. So the brighter of a light you are in this world, the more you are attacked, okay? It's Murphy's Law, right? So if you're attacked a lot, then you're in a really good club. You know, not the bad club that you don't want to be in with all the pedophiles and stuff, but the good club when you're on God's side. That's a beautiful thing. And we have a very bright future ahead of us. And we're excited to get an update from Kim and find out all those good things that she was talking about. So that wraps up this episode of The Rundown. Again, if you want to learn more about who we are and what we do, visit our website, unitednetwork.earth. And please consider becoming a member. That gives you instant access to all of these stories that as we release them. That includes the complete news updates, all of the information from Kim when she does her video reports. We've got some incredible interviews on our app for New Earth and where we're taking our planet and some of the amazing technologies that are out there, and just gets us thinking in a different way. I know the news is gloom and doom right now. They're saying, here in the US, we're at war. There's no way the president can't do that on his own. So that is on a technicality, it's false. But what they are trying to do is to get us to manifest this war for them. So don't do that. Go out, enjoy yourself, do the things that you love to do, spend time with your friends and family, and things that make you happy. Things that make you feel love, because that's what we need right now on this planet, and that's why you're here. Thanks for being here with me tonight. I appreciate you guys. This is The Rundown, and I'm Sunny Galt for United Network News, signing off.